In this video, we're going to be going over every single MCC player that has ever played at least 3 games, and we're going to rank them based on their skill. Okay, let's start with Paws. She's played in 3 MCCs, MCC 1, 2, and 4. Her team has not done the greatest, to say the least, but she has gotten some mid-tier rankings, so probably put her in C tier. Alright, moving on to Captain Puffy. Anyways, she has done pretty decent, actually. Doesn't give an average, but I mean, she's kind of fallen off in the last few. She has gotten pretty decent scores, like low 20s, kind of average. Again, I don't know how to rank average, probably going to be C tier. So, not too great, but definitely ahead of Paws, who only played in 3 MCCs. Moving on to Captain Sparkles, who has gotten very well individual results. I actually did not think he had done this well, but most of his results are in mid-high tier. Under 20th, it's gonna go in B tier. Next on our list is gonna be Cubfan. He hasn't gotten higher than 27th, actually, never mind, he got 13th. So, Cubfan has gotten 13th place, but other than that, he hasn't really done too well. So, his average is generally gonna be against C tier, probably ahead of Paws, who probably did worse than Cubfan. And now we have Calvin, who despite his skill hasn't done the best in MCC, to say the least. He's only played 4 times as well. 13, he only got top 10 once, unless you count this 10th place here. So, basically, he hasn't done the greatest, but, I mean, it's still good. I mean, he's still Calvin. Like, come on, man. B tier. Alright, up next is Dantdm, who I had to add because I actually forgot him somehow. Anyways, Dantdm is gonna go, I believe, ahead of Puffy. I mean, he hasn't had the greatest amounts of points, but they're certainly not abysmal. Low, medium 20s, that's better than most. Probably better than Cubfan. Alright, so up next is the least controversial Minecraft player of all time, Dream. Never gotten into any controversies ever, yup. But in all seriousness, I mean, Dream has always done well. Most MCCs he's gotten top 10 in almost all MCCs. He's even gotten 6th. I mean, his average is 6th, but unfortunately this MCC has lowered his average quite significantly because he got 19th. Although, in pretty much all other MCCs, he's gotten in the top 10. He's gotten 1st, at least. He's gotten 1st once. He's gotten 3rd, 2nd. Definitely a high tier player. So I'll put him in S tier. Up next is a Minecraft player that I didn't know existed. Durlugon? Anyways, I mean, he's never cracked the top. He's never gotten the 20s at all. Unfortunately for him, he's gonna have to go into the dreaded F tier. Now up next is Finster. I'd actually expect him to do better than this. He has done pretty poorly, though. He hasn't done that terrible. I mean, low 30s. I mean, it's not great. His team has somehow done decently, despite this. But he's only been in 3 MCCs, and he's got pretty low rankings, so I'm gonna have to put him in D tier for this. Next, we have False Symmetry. So, False Symmetry is a player I've seen in every MCC, and you know why she's been in every MCC? Because she's been in every MCC except the three first MCCs, but we don't talk about that. Anyways, she's either done in the 30s or the top 10s and a couple 20s. And her first two MCCs, she was in the 20s at least. This MCC, she got pretty much last, though. So that's gonna lower her score a lot, although she does still average 24th overall, which is decent enough. Maybe for B tier, I'm not sure. I'm going to put her in B tier because C tier is kind of getting a bit crowded, if you know what I mean. Up next is probably the best Minecraft player ever. I mean, at least that's what I think of him. So, Fruitberries. Fruitberries, I mean, he's just insane. He's got some of the greatest movement skills I've ever seen. His PvP is almost on par with Dream and Technoblades. And he is actually really good at speedrunning. And MCC, he is not shellacking. He's gotten first, second, pretty nice streaks, you know. He's only got kicked out of the top 10 one time when he got 14th. And he averages 4th place. So he's gonna go higher than Dream on this tier list. Now we have Fundy. Fundy has done surprisingly well for what I've seen of him on the Dream SMP. He hasn't been too amazing. I know he does have prowess in coding, but apparently he does actually have skills, as he's gotten 8th, 4th, he's gotten really high scores. I mean, just ignore that, that didn't exist. Anyways, it doesn't give me an average. I could calculate that, but I'm too lazy. But he is he's pretty good overall. I'd say top 10s player. I mean, top 20s, 10 to 20th place, you know. Pretty decent, so he's gonna go in A tier. Up next is F-Whip, who I have seen a little bit. I haven't seen that much of him. I haven't watched too many of the MCCs. His team has certainly done well after he got first place 3 times in a row. All with H-Bomb on them. But anyways, I mean, his scores are pretty decent. Mostly top 10s. He either gets top 10s 11th or he goes 20th. I mean, you can just ignore that one. That didn't exist, you know. But F-Whip, I think decent player. Probably going to be on the bottom end of A tier. Or high B tier. We'll keep him in A tier for now. Alright, so I just realized something. Calvin has actually done better than F-Whip. So what I'm going to do is put Calvin in A tier and move F-Whip down to B tier. GeorgeNotFound. Interesting teams he's gotten. Let's see how many Sapnaps he's gotten. Sapnap. Actually, only 4. Dream. He's gotten 5 dreams, 4 Sapnaps. So, yes, very creative with the teams there, MCC. His scores probably, I mean, they're not insane at all, but he certainly belongs a spot in B tier. He doesn't belong in C tier with all the average people. No offense, C tier, but I'm just being honest with you, you're just average people. I actually didn't know GizzyGazza existed before this, but their individual result kind of speaks for itself. They had 1 high tier performance, actually not even that high tier, maybe like A tier, I don't know. And then they basically got 30th every other time. So, not a great player by any means. I mean, not low tier trash, but certainly not incredible. Alright, now we're on to Green. Green is a solid mid-tier player who has decently high rankings. Certainly not the greatest. again, there's not too many. There's a lot of C tiers for some reason. I may kick some down to D tier. I'm looking at you guys. Cubfan, GizzyGazza, and I forgot your name. Anyways, Green's gonna go slightly above Puffy. They have really similar scores. Puffy averages 24th. Green's gotten 24th 3 times, but he has gotten a bit lower in sometimes. Puffy has played more, but Green has played certainly has played a lot still. So Green's gonna go ahead of Puffy here. Up next we have H-Bomb. H-Bomb is very good. Everyone regards him as good, but he's actually severely underrated, and he gets top 10 almost every single time. He's only gotten in the 20th once. One time. And he's gotten top 10, mostly low top 10, although some high ones. 2nd, 5th, 4th. He hasn't gotten 1st, he's not too definitive, but he averages 9th, and that's probably gonna be enough to put him in S tier. So, you're gonna have to go behind Dream, though. Next we have someone who's played in most of the MCCs, In the Little Wood. In the Little Wood has done pretty well in the Yogscast Jingle Jam. But other than that, he's not too amazing. Probably another C tier. He's gotten top 10 once. He's gotten 10th to 20th once. And other than that, he hasn't gotten too many scores. Actually, twice. Actually, 3 times. But other than that, he hasn't gotten too many high scores. He certainly played a lot of MCCs, which kind of helps him, but also not really, because it makes his score lower. So, In the Little Wood, I am sorry, you're gonna have to go above Cubfans. I'm gonna move Cubfans down, and GizzyGazza, because C tier is getting too crowded. Now I have James Turner. Again, I didn't know this person existed before starting this ranking, but they're probably popular. Please don't sue me. Anyways, they haven't been in too many of the recent ones, but they have been in some. We've been quite a few, mostly on Blue Bats. They really liked putting him on Blue Bats. I'm pretty sure he got tired of that, but he wasn't too special of a player anyways, mostly 30th, 31st. I'm gonna have to move him, unfortunately, down slightly below or above Finster on this list. Now I have Jerome ASFF. He does not have too much data to, stand for himself, but he has enough. He's gotten 16th twice, decent score. His team hasn't done too hot, but we can just ignore that. He's gotten 25th and 32nd, so he's pretty inconsistent with his score. Not too amazing. Probably going to be high C tier. That's where I'm going to put him. I'm going to put him below, actually, Green, Captain Puffy, because they're a bit more consistent than he is, and he's only been in 4. Up next, look, we have this person that looks like he's in a movie that I probably haven't seen, Joey Graceffa. He was in the first 4 MC championships as well as the 8th one, although he hasn't performed too amazing, so unfortunately he's gonna have to go in F tier, but he is above this dude because he did get slightly higher rankings, as he got 34, 36 at least. The top of K, Kara Corvus, who I've seen in most MCCs actually, and she's participated in every single one. Maybe because I haven't seen every single MCC. Either way, she has decently high rankings, although she has fallen off a bit in the past few MCCs. She's gotten 14th, 12th before, usually high 20s. So I'm going to put Kara Corvus near the top, around here on C tier. Up next we have Kathrine Elizabeth, who again, I didn't know she existed before this ranking, but now I do. Apparently she was on the Yellow Yolks, That is one of the worst names I have ever heard. But anyways, her individual rankings are nothing too special. She's only gotten one 20 to 30 once. All the others are in 30s about. So she's not going to go too high on this list. And she's going to cap around D tier. Up next on the tier list, we have KingBurren, who surprisingly, I'm not going to say surprisingly anymore, that's kind of cringy at this point. Either way, he's gotten very high rankings overall, but he did get a 35th, and his team got 10th in MCC 11. That's probably his team's fault and not him. I mean, he had James Charles, Connor Spence, Sylvee's pretty decent. But either way, he's not an incredible player. He's pretty decent. I'm gonna have to put him in B tier. Next we have one of the better players in MCC, who mostly gets top 10s, his team has done pretty well, especially in recent ones, and he's participated in a lot of MCC's Krinios. As you can see here, he's mostly gotten top 10s. He's only fallen out 1, 2, 3, 4 times. 7th, 9th, 5th, 6th. He's certainly a very helpful player to have on your team. And the One-Eyed Cyclops is going to go in A tier. Next we have one of the better PvPers. I've known him as being on some PvP heavy teams, including the Orange people in MCC 13, and they destroyed everyone. It was pretty funny. I didn't mean to click on Sapnap, but anyways, his individual result is certainly nothing to be ashamed of. He's never fallen out of the... Actually, yes. He's fallen out of the top 10 one time when he got 16th. Other than that, he's either gotten really high, like 2nd, 3rd, 4th, or in 9th, 10th, 8th. His average is 7th. So, certainly a very, very helpful player to have on your team. He's going to go in the bottom of S tier. Up next, we have another person I didn't know existed before this. Christic Zeus? Like, who is that? But apparently they've been in a lot of MCCs, and they haven't done particularly well. Their team has never finished higher than 9th, so that should say something, I guess. And their individual rankings, not the greatest, so he's gonna have to go the middle of Graceffa and this guy in F tier. Up next we have LD Shadow Lady, who's participated in 6 MCCs, including the first 3. Her team has done pretty decently, I guess, except in 6 and 13, and her individual scores are nothing to say, oh, that's amazing at. But she has gotten 22nd once, that is her highest, and then 25th twice. So she's not incredibly bad like some of the other people on this list. She's gonna have to go in D tier. I'll put her high D tier. Up next on this list we have Meths, who has actually been one of my favorite players, despite his team never exactly doing too well. However, his individual scores are usually in the top 10s, and he has gotten 15th, 16th, 21st, but other than that, he has had very high scores, so Meths is going to go in A tier. Okay, so next on this list is Michaelmcchill, who I do remember actually from the Dream/Technoblade team in MCC 8, which was pretty fun. And he's won twice, and his individual result has done pretty well, decently, 19th, 17th, 18th a couple times, but usually bottom 20th. And his average is at 22nd, and his team is also above average, so I'm going to put him in the average tier. Let's C tier. Move him above Jerome. Okay, there we go. Okay, so next we have MiniMuka, who I remember, but I don't remember how I remember. Anyways, he did win MCC 2. Other than that, I mean, his scores haven't been too amazing, but they're certainly not too terrible either. So he's gonna go near bottom of C tier. Up next we have Niki, who's just the greatest at survival games. She has a 100% win rate in survival games out of all 4 of these MCCs that she was in. But anyways, individual result speaks for itself. She got 40th twice, and she has gotten some high 30s, but not great. So I'm gonna have to put her in a high F tier. Sorry, Niki. Up next we have Pearlescent Moon, who I have seen in a few MCCs. Her team result has not been too great except in MCC 12, and her individual result is decent, about average if you count her 11th score that she got with Quig, SmallishBeans, and Dan to a second, but other than that she hasn't done too incredible. So Pearlescent Moon is gonna go in C tier. Up next, I think I have the best MCC player on this whole list, and it's not actually who you think it is. It's PeteZahHutt. Now, let's see how many championships he's been in. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 championships. He has won 3. His team averages 3rd, and his individual score averages 3rd. And he's only missed 1 MCC. And so he's been in 13 of the 14 MCCs, and his average is 3rd. He's never finished lower than 5th. Other S tiers like Dream averages 6th, and Pete hasn't even gotten 6th before. He's gotten all higher than 6th. So Pete is the best player in MCC. I know you guys probably thought it was Technoblade, but you were wrong. So Pete is the best player. Ph1LzA, I think of more of a builder player. I didn't expect him to actually participate in every single MCC except MCC 3, but he has. And he has placed very high on some of these. He's certainly a solid player. He's placed 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 6th. Even with like his teams that aren't so good, he kind of helps his team a lot. So Phil is gonna go in A tier. I think high A tier, above or below Krinios. So up next we have Plumbella, who apparently has participated in 4 MCCs. I've never seen her, probably because I didn't watch too many MCCs, but I did watch a lot. But her team has actually done better than her individual score by a lot. I don't think it could get much worse than this when you finish dead last twice, and then 2nd to dead last twice, and that's your whole career. And you've only played in 4 MCCs, and those were the early MCCs, and where there's missing a lot of good players. So I'm going to put Plumbella at the very bottom of F tier. Up next we have Punz. Punz, he's only been in 3 MCC championships, and his team has gotten 1st place twice. Yes, they won and lost dodgeball, but that doesn't really matter too much on his overall score, as his overall score has been extremely high, usually especially for only playing 3 MCCs. He has only played 3 though, so that will lower his score a bit. However, I am going to put Punz into A tier behind Krinios, just because he hasn't played too much. Up next we have the man, the myth, the legend, Quackity. His team has done actually decently, but he has not done the greatest, to say the least, so that's not really gonna help him this time. Alright, next we have Quig, who I usually see in the top spots. He's got first plenty of time, second, third. He's barely fallen out of the top 10 ever. And his average is 5th, so Quig is obviously very good. He's gonna go behind Fruit, as Fruit's average is 4th. Up next we have Rendog, who's always been paired with false Symmetry. His team unfortunately hasn't done too hot. However, his individual result isn't actually too hot either. He's cracked the top 20s twice or 3 times. He's only cracked the 10s once. Not the greatest of players, but I will put him above some of the other D tiers. I'll put him high D tier. Up next we have RTGame, who again I've never heard of before. His team has highest gotten 5th, but he's gotten 9th twice, 10th once. His team hasn't done too well. His individual result isn't great either, as he's kind of correct. He's kind of average, although also in the bottom part. So I'm gonna put him near average, but although behind Puffy is Puffy and Tubbo have played more. After this we have RyGuyRocky, who his team again hasn't done the greatest, although he did get first one time. And his individual result is pretty good, usually in the 10ths, the 20ths. So RyGuyRocky is gonna go in A tier, probably above Meths, as he's barely gotten in 20ths compared to Meths. Oh my god. Anyways, that's his position. So, up next we have Sapnap. Now, Sapnap is very underrated as a player. I mean, his team has always done very, very well. And he hasn't shellacked either. He's gotten very high most of the time. And he's barely fallen out of the top 10. He's surprisingly better than a lot of the people in S tier. I'm gonna have to put him behind Dream. But he's still done very well. Up next is gonna be SB, who hasn't played in as much MCCs as I thought he has. Although, he has played in 4. So, and he's done pretty decently. Not the greatest of players, but pretty average. I'd say above average compared to a lot of other people. He's gonna go in high B tier. Now up next we have CPK, who, I don't know how he came up with this name, although a lot of the names are pretty weird. Anyways, he has done pretty decently individually, always getting the top 10s, only falling out of the 20ths once. So, CPK is going to go in, I think, very, very high. Actually, I'll put him in A tier. Now I have, I think, a player who has played in every single MCC event. Yeah, she has. So, we have Shubble. Shubble's, I think she's in Hermitcraft. I don't know her too well, though. But she's done pretty decently in MCC, averaging about 23rd. So, Shubble is going to go in around, I think, high C tier. And now we have everyone's favorite event organizer, Scott. We all know him now because of, you know, the Ace Race thing. The Ace Race thing in MCC 14, you know. We all know how that turned out. But anyways, Scott has done pretty decent. I'm gonna give him a bit of a harder time because he's an event organizer, but he's still a decent A tier player. Alright, so now we have SmallishBeans. Somehow an ad covered this, but anyways. SmallishBeans, I think pretty decent. He's either in the top 10s or 8th, you know? Or he's in the bottom 30s, and his team is trash. He's gotten 20th sometime, but I don't know, he's not too amazing. But he is decent enough, so he's gonna go. I'm gonna put him very high C tier. C tier's running out of room. I guess it's the average tier. So that kind of makes sense. But SmallishBeans is going in high C tier. Up next we have Solidarity Gaming, who's played in most MCCs, just not MCC 13. And his team has done not the greatest, although he has gotten first and fourth a couple times, second maybe. Either way, his individual result is pretty good, although it certainly could be better, like his MCC 3 result where he got 5th compared to his MCC 2 result where he got 28th. So, consistency is something he kind of struggles with, but either way, decent enough player. I'm gonna put him in C tier, behind Pearlescent. Now up next we have StephoSims. So her team has gotten 10th every single time, and she has gotten 40th, 39th, and 40th, and she got below 400 points. So I think we all know where she's gonna end up going. Now up next we have Strawberry, whose team has done actually decently, but she has not done the greatest. I don't think she's cracked 35th twice. Other than that, she hasn't gotten higher than it, and probably bring her team down lot, but either way, she's not very good. Low tier player. Now we have Sylvee, who is not the greatest. Again, there's not too many amazing players in MCC. It kind of brings the quality down a little bit. Just saying, MCC should probably get some pretty good players a bit more. Anyways, Sylvee has done higher than some of our other placements, but still not too incredible, so Sylvee's gonna have to go in D tier. Up next we have TapL, the man, the myth, the UHC legend. Joined in MCC 8 and whose team has usually gotten in the top 5, and his average is very solid. I think he's a really solid player. He's never gotten top 5. Actually, he has. He's never gotten top 4. So we'll see if he gets S tier. Maybe in future events he could crack S tier, but for now he's gonna be probably behind Ph1LzA in A tier. Now I'm sure this guy is probably your prediction to be the best at MCC. Technoblade. We all know him. We all love him. He's won twice, lost once in the finals. Both pretty cool performances by him. Always, he's never fallen out of top 7. So his average extremely high, as he's averaged 4th. I don't know how to compare him with Fruitberries, because Fruitberries also averaged 4th. I guess I'll keep him right behind Fruitberries for now. I don't really know how to rank them. I mean, Techno hasn't played in the more recent events, and his team hasn't been as trash as Fruitberries in a lot of them. So I'm gonna put Technoblade behind Fruit. Now let me just explain this. I moved H-Bomb down. I didn't realize that H-Bomb averaged 9th. For some reason I kept him up there, and I was confused. I thought some of the other contestants is better. Pete averages 3rd, Fruitberries Techno 4th, Quig averages 5th, he averages 6th, Sapnap averages around 7th. So he's gonna go in the bottom of S tier, although he's still an incredible player, so he's gonna stay in S tier. yeah, I'm just explaining my decision there. And next we have Eret. This is a pretty funny quote. Either way, Eret has done decently. We can see he's gotten 26th, 18th, you know. He's gotten some 30th rankings, but he also gotten pretty high rankings. Not the greatest player, but I'll put him on the top of D tier. He's decent enough to get that at least. Another player who didn't know existed is the OrionSound. His team, not the greatest, except in this last MCC, where he had Pete on his team, which explains a lot. And his individual result has been a bit poor, not too incredible. We get 35th, 38 out of 40. Yeah, you're not going to get that high on the tier list, but either way, I don't know how I didn't know he existed because he played in the last 2 MCCs. Anyways, he is going to go bottom C tier. Up next, we have someone you might not think is really good in MCC, but you might think of him for this quote, which is probably the best quote in MCC. Anyways, his individual result is higher than you might expect. He gets in the top 10 frequently, and usually is in the top 10 to 20s, and sometimes he's gotten below 20, below average, but I mean, Tommy is not bad at all. So he's gonna go in probably ahead of CPK in A tier. I'm probably gonna shift these guys down to B tier. Up next we have someone you might not expect as really good, you know. Again, no, I didn't mean to click on that. You might not expect him to be extremely good, but he has done better than you think, like Tommy. He's gotten usually top 10, sometimes bottom 20th. He's gotten 9th, 10th, 14th. Very solid player. I think I already ranked him by accident, but either way, Tubbo is gonna go in around B tier. I was gonna put him behind George because of George's consistency. So now we have Vikkstar. Now Vikkstar he played in the first 5 MCCs, and then he skipped a bunch and joined in the 14th, or the latest one. Teamed with Tubbo and Tommy. That's an interesting team, to say the least, and their team was pretty interesting. Either way, Vikkstar, I mean, he's a great player. He hasn't played that much, unfortunately. He's gotten top 10 every time, except the most recent one. So, Vikkstar is gonna go A tier. I'll put him very high A tier for his rankings. Now again, someone I didn't know existed, who usually don't do too well, because I didn't know they existed. Her team has never gone out of 9th place. And she's mostly been teamed with the Blue Bats. So maybe it's something about that. Also, her team has been the same every time. I don't know if that's a glitch. I don't remember this team at all. It says she's been in every single game with the same team every time. Well, I guess her individual result kind of says everything. She's never gotten 1,000 points before, never gotten higher than 37th, except when she got 31st with some diamonds. Or the sapphires. Either way. Xela, not done too great. Sorry, you're gonna have to go in F tier. Now we're down to the last 2 people. Are either of them gonna be Pete as the top tier player in the whole game? No, of course not, because they're not that good. But anyways, whoever said, I mean, he's decent enough. He's not trash. When I say he's not that good, I don't mean he's trash, obviously. Because he's done decent enough. Pretty average. He's gotten a few top 10s, usually with Technoblade on his team. But since then, he hasn't done too hot. So, well, we're set. I'm gonna put him high C tier. And now last, but not least, is Wisp. He's not most either, though. Don't get too hyped on Wisp. He's only played 3 times. One was